Am I live? Doesn't look like I'm live. Am I live? I might even be live. Ooh. Ooh, looks like something's working. Alrighty. Well, I hope it's working. First time live. First time live on YouTube, and what a better way. Oh. You see, that's what happens when you're a professional. So let's start that again. Yes, live, first time live on YouTube. And what better way to start going live than with a depression test? So as part of the kind of men's emotional health virtual summit that I'm working on, I'm conducting a lot of interviews right now, trying to unpick and unpack the truths, debunk myths around men's mental health. And hopefully in some way, shape or form, the summit's going to inspire or give belief to men in pain to kind of seek out or seek help or speak up or create community and foundations around mental health. Because there are practices that can be put in place to stave off from mental health, right? It can keep it at bay. All right, I know that from my own life. I hit my own rock bottom at the end of 2018. And I've started to put certain things in place. And to be honest with you, over the last year or so, I haven't really felt too much, apart from the odd COVID day here or there. I haven't really felt too much depression. And a lot of that has come through connection, right? It's come through forming bonds and circles. It's through joining mastermind groups. It's through networking. And for me right now, there is no such thing as a wasted conversation. The idea of being curious about another person's story and being able to share mine has been one of the most liberating things that I've ever done in my life. And ever since I was kind of in my mid-20s, I can point to a pattern where I would ebb and flow in and out of depression. It would always be there lurking somewhere inside of me. And sometimes I'd be absolutely fine. Sometimes I would act fine and not be. Sometimes, for weeks on end, I would struggle to leave the house. I would struggle to kind of communicate. And of course, like if I had to communicate with my parents or anybody like that, it would be very much like I'd put on a show for that because I wouldn't want them to worry. Wouldn't want them to worry and make it worse even. So, what was I going to talk about next? Ah, yes. Dr. John Ogrodniczuk and Heads Up Guys. So, in preparation for the Emotional Health Summit for Men and those that love him, I've been conducting interviews, and one such interview is with Dr. John Ogrodniczuk, who's a psychotherapist based in British Columbia, Canada, who has specialized in men's mental health. And he identified a point within his life, within his own practice, that the majority of the people that he was working with, the majority of his clients, were women. But often in those conversations, they would talk about how their brothers or their husbands were going through similar pains, but he would never see them. And often when men did come to him, it was at breaking point. So he was having to unpack not just the problem itself, but also the repression, the emotional repression that was happening because men weren't speaking up in, the infant stages of the problem. So we had a bloody brilliant chat, and to compensate for the fear that stopped men coming forward and seeking help and seeking therapy, he designed a digital program, right? So men could find out about their current state of mental health. They could rip the Band-Aid off, find their state of mental health without needing to kind of like feeling less of a man by having to go to a therapist, or perceived feeling less of a man by having to admit and going to a therapist or seeking help, right? So they could just go through this digital test, which is validated and corroborated. It's a very standardized depression test in digital format. So I'm going to do that live right now. As long as I can get this to work, because this is my first time live, and I'm still practicing. So if I now do this and go like this, and let's go. This is professional. This is what happens when you're professional, you see. Professional. Here we go. Hey, would you look at that? Just make some adjustments here so people can actually see it. Maybe move it over there. There we go. Near perfect. So now if I click on the main website, so here we go. This is the main website, and for men, about men. And I sometimes kind of wonder if, like with all of this kind of men's work, whether we're not addressing some of the needs of the gay community or trans community with this. And so I did speak to John about this, and he said that the kind of when it comes to depression and anxiety and mental health disorders like that, sexuality doesn't matter. Whether you're trans, whether you're gay, whether you're straight, the core of it is still the same. The lived experience might be completely different, and the levels of trauma might be completely different. But when it comes to the cognitive test like this, it's generally the same. So I want you to know that if you're watching this and you happen to be gay or trans, you're not excluded from this. Take the test, much like I am doing, and you will get very accurate results, much like I will. So let's click the button and go. Take self-check now. Right, let's make sure that we can see that on OBS. There we go. Looks beautiful. Well done, John. Nice design. I like the green. So gender, please choose your gender. Male. Oh, 36. I think that's right. Lose track at a certain point. Over the past 2 weeks, how often have you been bothered by the following problems? So over the past 2 weeks, little interest or pleasure in doing things. Not at all, really. Feeling down, depressed, or hopeless. I'm going to go with... So it does come up, right? I wouldn't necessarily say several complete days, but I've also been sick, and, you know, I lost my... Well, I didn't lose my business, but my business was physical events, so I haven't had income for quite some time. So they're kind of moments of fear and lowness, so I'm going to put several days. Trouble falling asleep or staying asleep or sleeping too much. Nearly every day, quite frankly. I always have trouble falling asleep virtually every night. That's a thing. So feeling tired or having little energy. Yeah, again, I have been sick, but you know, I'm not finding that I have tons of energy in general at the moment. And, you know, I've got to do some work on my diet and my fitness regime and stuff like that. I realize that. But, you know, let's answer the question. Poor appetite or overeating? Yep. more than half the days comfortably. Feeling bad about yourself or that you're a failure or you've let yourself or your family down? No, I wouldn't say so. Trouble concentrating on things such as reading the newspaper or watching television? No, I wouldn't say so. Not at all. Concentration hasn't really been a challenge. Distraction is another matter, right? Concentrating on one thing and not being distracted by another is, but I feel that's not what this is, right? This is like getting lost in your own thoughts, not getting distracted. So moving or speaking so slowly that other people could have noticed, or the opposite, being so fidgety or restless that you have been moving around a lot more than usual. I can't think of any circumstances where that's come up. Thoughts that you would be better off dead or hurting yourself in some way. Now, I have had this experience. This was the rock bottom process that I mentioned about 2018. Sometimes we need a breaking point, right? Before we start doing the work. That was my breaking point, and I will never, ever, ever not do the work. So no matter what result this comes out of, even if it says I'm the healthiest, most non-depressed person in the world, or the most complete depressed person in the world, it's not going to change that I'm still going to work towards the healthy habits that promote happiness and away from stress. Right? And on this website, there's like 5 tips or 5 steps to go through. And I'm going to be advocating and working on those steps to make sure that, like, because I don't really, I mean, I care about the result. I care whether I'm depressed or not. But quite honestly, I'm going to do the work anyway. Even if I'm not depressed, I never want to be depressed in the future. And if that means doing some awesome work that is going to keep me enriched and fulfilled and away from depression, it kind of makes sense to do it. So, thoughts that you would be better off dead or hurting in some way? Not at all, but definitely have in the past. And stay up to date with important heads up guys announcements such as campaigns, events, and giveaways. Receive quarterly reminders to complete our self-check-in. I'm going to say green means yes. So I'm going to say yes to both of those. You can see my email address. I'm going to skip that. I'm going to have to take that out, aren't I? And before I click submit responses, I'm going to come back here. Because I don't want to do the results today. You're going to have to tune into a future video. And there is a reason to do this. I could easily just click submit responses, end the video, and you'll know my depression check test results. But the truth is, no matter what comes out here, we've got to talk about the results. So the idea is I'm going to unveil my results and we're going to discuss the results and the practices that we can do no matter what the results is to move forward. So check in next time. I don't know when it's going to be. I'm going to surprise you. Nobody cares because nobody's watching. So I am going to submit the response.